This is my science project explaining the Rutherford model, the Thomson model, and the Bohr model. First we have the Thomson model. The Thomson model was made by Sir Joseph John Thomson, born in Britain. He was also credited with the discovery of the electron. The plum pudding model, or the Thomson model, was proposed in 1904. According to this model, there is a spherical blob of positively charged mass and negatively charged electrons throughout the mass, adding up to a neutral charge. An example is watermelon seeds in a watermelon, the seeds being the electrons. One flaw with this model was that there were no neutrons in the model, because they had not been discovered yet. Another inaccuracy was that his version of the atom consisted of no empty space, and was a perfect sphere with no nucleus. Next we have the Rutherford model. It was proposed in 1911 by Ernest Rutherford. According to the Rutherford model, the atom had a heavy nucleus with a positive charge and electrons surrounding it, mostly made of empty space. Rutherford's model said that the negatively charged electrons were orbiting the nucleus in a set path. Rutherford was wrong in saying the electrons orbit the nucleus in a planetary motion. This is because according to Maxwell's theory, made by James Clerk Maxwell, if the electrons were accelerating, the electrons would emit electromagnetic waves, and the velocity or kinetic energy would decrease. Because of the decreasing energy, the electrons would fall out of orbit and spiral into the nucleus, eventually crashing it. Atoms would be generally extremely unstable, which is not true at all. We know this because if atoms weren't stable, basically nothing would be stable. Another flaw in the Rutherford model was that because Rutherford said electrons were orbiting a circular nucleus, they were producing a constant spectrum. In simple terms, he said the electromagnetic waves that were being given off by electrons, if put through a prism, would show a rainbow of colors. This was not true and could not happen because every atom is different, so they would not release all the colors of a rainbow. This is known as a line spectrum. Last but not least, Rutherford's model was also lacking neutrons, which were discovered around 20 years later in 1932. Lastly, we have the Bohr model, made by Niels Bohr, a Danish physicist, in July of 1913. According to Bohr's model, the electrons are in a defined circular orbit around the nucleus, a very dense sphere of protons. The inaccuracies of the Bohr model were that his model only worked with very simple atoms. It also did not have neutrons. Lastly, it was not able to explain the Zeeman effect. Whenever you placed a magnetic field on the atom, you could observe the line spectrum splitting. This would return to its original state when the magnetic field was gone.